Cooking to the President's Taste is more than just a cookbook filled with recipes. It's also a lesson on a little-known history of Asian chefs in the White House. You could say this book is serving. What's cooking in the White House?
We have the first course, which is this big pea soup that we will be serving with just a little American caviar on a cornet. And then the second course is Dover sole, wonderful fish from England.
This was 2008 when executive chef Christetta Comerford gave viewers a behind-the-scenes look at preparations for an important state dinner with the Queen of England. Comerford made history and headlines as the first woman and first Filipina executive chef in the White House. She was appointed by Laura Bush back in 2005. Comerford, who retired in 2024, is in fact part of a very long line of Asian chefs who have fed and expanded the palates of U.S. presidents. Chefs with roots from all over Asia, China, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Thailand, including Comerford's successor, Tommy Kerpradit, who is Thai. Their stories now come to life in a new cookbook, Cooking to the President's Taste: Asian Heritage Chefs in White House History. Co-author Adrian Miller, known as the Soul Food Scholar, accidentally stumbled on this history while researching for another book he was working on, featuring African-American presidential chefs.
And so about 10 years ago, I was in my hometown, Denver, Colorado, at the University of Denver Special Collections, because they have a cookbook collection with thousands of volumes. So I just put in presidential food just to see what would come up. And then the memoir cookbook of Lee Ping Kwan shows up. And it turns out he was the presidential yacht chef for Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, and Herbert Hoover. So I thought this needs to be shared with the broader public at some point, because he published the cookbook in 1939 and it fell into obscurity. And there's very few copies left out there, so I thought we got to get this story out.
Lee Ping Kwan's story led Miller to discover more Asian chefs in the White House, a total of 37 who worked in various positions, from the presidential yachts to leading the White House kitchen. But Miller thinks that there may be more. That's because not much is written about the kitchen staff, that is, until this cookbook.
Yeah, I just think it's a very unique window on the American presidency, one that we've never ever seen before.
For example, Kwan was already a famous chef in China when he immigrated to the U.S. He enlisted in the Navy. At the time, it was a pathway to U.S. citizenship for many Asians.
So he comes to the United States, he's in the U.S. Navy, he serves on a number of ships, torpedo boats and other things. But his cooking was so excellent that he keeps getting promoted and assigned to different. And in the Navy, they take food very seriously. Like these admirals, and all, they love some good cooking.
The cookbook features many of Chef Kwan's original recipes, Chinese dishes, and flavors.
The Coolidges seemed to like Asian food. And I thought that was really neat. I mean, so things like egg rolls, scallop stir fries, things that still exist today.
And thanks to Deborah Chang, the book's co-author, you can take a bite out of history. She curated the recipes, and several of Coolidge's favorite Asian dishes are in the cookbook, including the egg roll. Choosing which recipes to include proved to be quite challenging. For instance, some ingredients are no longer available.
I wanted to be true to what his recipe was, and so it didn't become my recipe in any way.
The cookbook also features other little-known chefs. The earliest they identified was a man named Yoji Ro from Japan, who served on the USS Mayflower under President McKinley in 1900. There's also Filipino Ireneo Esperancilla, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's personal chef. Esperancilla started on Roosevelt's presidential yacht before it was decommissioned, and continued to work under Truman and Eisenhower. And it was Eisenhower who elevated the first Asian to lead the White House kitchen, Filipino chef Pedro Udo.
So he was the head chef during the second term of President Eisenhower, made state dinners. He was very well known as a cake maker, so I'm glad that we included this beautiful picture of him making a cake in the White House kitchen. Mamie Eisenhower loved his cakes and sent him thank you notes, that kind of thing.
It's no surprise the Filipino chefs introduced a few of their native dishes to the presidents and their families. I love also that some of my two favorite Filipino dishes are in this cookbook, adobo and pancit. And whose recipes are those?
So the adobo one is from a guy named Ariel de Guzman, who was basically cooked a lot for Vice President and then later President George Herbert Walker Bush. So he cooked for him during his vice presidency, during his presidency, and then afterwards. And then you call it pancit?
Yeah.
Okay. That recipe is from Ireneo Esprincilla's family. So that's the family recipe.
So I love that the Bushes were eating adobo.
Yeah.
For Asian American Life, I'm Ernabelle DeMillo.